Welcome back, dear learners. Dear learners, let's study one more poem from the pen of Robert Lee Frost, an American poet. In this or in the previous video, actually I gave a brief description of the life history of this very particular poet, that is Robert Lee Frost. In this very particular video, I'm just going to explain it to you. His one of the most beautiful but complicated poem, Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. This very particular poem, actually, my dear learner, was composed in the year 1922, and this very particular poem was published along with so many other poems under or in a collection of poems called New Hampshire. This, my dear learner, was the collection of the poem that fetched Robert Lee Frost his first Pulitzer in the following year, that is 1924. That I told you in the previous video, that this poet bagged 4 Pulitzer in his lifetime. First 1924, second 31, and third 37, and last but not the least 1943. See, in this very particular poem, first of all, I would like to tell you something about this poem before explaining you the poem, that this poem is written in rubaiyat stanza form. Rubaiyat stanza is known as quatrain. Rubaiyat stanza or rubaiyat is a term used in Persian language. Rubaiyat stanza is a stanza consisted of 4 lines. 4 lines. This very particular rubaiyat stanza, bear in mind, was first used by Edward Fitzgerald. Edward Fitzgerald was that great poet or writer who gets the credit of translating Omar Khayyam, just poetic work from Persian language into English language. So here Robert Lee Frost has also made use of this rubaiyat stanza form, means this quatrain, a stanza of 4 lines, and the rhyme scheme used by just Edward Fitzgerald. Same rhyme scheme is also used by Robert Lee Frost in this poem. And what is the rhyme scheme of rubaiyat stanza? A B A, B B C B, C C D C, and 4 times D the last. So you can say that the last stanza, deep keep, sleep sleep. So same, this D, same you will find here. So Edward Fitzgerald was the person who made use of rubaiyat stanza. In the same stanza form is used by Robert Lee Frost in this very particular poem, and by most of the interpreters. I mean YouTube interpreters. That this poem is very easy one, but I will never dare say that this poem is easy one, though it looks easy at a glance. But when you get into the world of this poem, you will realize that the poem is not easy one to interpret in a very easy manner. Why? Because the poem is all about the desire all about the duty, all about the individuality, all about the societal responsibility, all about life, all about death, all about rest, all about action, all about peace, all about complication, all about nature, all about society, and all about civilization. So, without taking any, without 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 any further ado, now let's look at the lines of this poem and try to understand. Whose whose woods these are, I think I know. Whose means the person. Woods, jungle belong to. These are, I think I know. So see, doubt and surety, I think shows doubt, I know shows surety. So on one hand, the speaker or the traveler, see, the speaker of this poem is a traveler, just like in the road not taken. Just like in the road not taken, the speaker is at his wit's end when he finds himself at the junction in the jungle where where the two roads diverge in the two different directions. In the same manner, here the speaker or the traveler of this poem is also at his wit's end, or he is in a kind of a confusion. He does not know what to do, whether to respond to the call or respond to the societal responsibilities or his desire, his individuality. Nature on one hand stands for joy, stands for satisfaction, stands for stands for stands for happiness. On the other hand, mysterious, mystery, complications, problems. So he says, he is actually at present, he is actually at present standing in a jungle or standing in the woods, and he thinks it means he's not 100% sure. This we need to bear in mind. He's not 100% sure that he knows the owner of this jungle. The jungle, it means the jungle belongs to someone, or the land mass these trees are standing actually just belongs to someone. But is it possible for the owner of the jungle to stop this traveler, uninvited traveler, the traveler who has not been given access to this property of the owner? Even then he has had full access. He says probably he knows. It means 100% sure he is. He's not 100% sure. It means I think shows confusion and I know shows surety. So confusion and surety, doubt and surety. He is in a kind of a dilemma. He is in a kind of a confusion. Second thing he says, see what he says in the second line. His house is in the village, though. He says probably, perhaps, the owner of the house is in the nearby village. It means the place he is standing, he can see a certain village, and he thinks that in that very particular village the house of the owner of this jungle is. Yes, literally, literally, he is the owner of this property, means this jungle. Even though, is it possible for him to stop this traveler, from trespassing his property? Answer is no. Is it possible for the owner who is not present here at the scene to stop him from entering his property and having a full access to his property? No. That shows what? That what does that mean? That though human to great extent has dominated nature, even then this day will never come in the life of human when human will have, or when human has full access or full control over the nature. No. However, human has made, no doubt at all, human has made great, you see this, has made great dominance. He has proved his dominance over nature. Even then, time and again, nature proves, nature shows, nature gives clear-cut indication to the human and gives a clear-cut message to the human that, oh human, bear in mind, you can never ever have full access over me. You can never have complete dominance over me. Same thing he says, that though the owner of this very particular jungle lives in that very particular village, but is it possible for him to stop him in his absence? No. He's not physically present here in his own jungle, and that's why he cannot stop the traveler to have the full access to his jungle. That shows this, that though we may try our best, we can try our best to have a complete control over nature, even then we shall never ever be able to have a complete access to the nature. See, he will not see me stopping a same thing to watch his woods fill up with snow. So he says that since the owner, the master of this jungle, is not present here, can he stop me? Is it possible for him to stop me to have a full access to his property? No. I have at present full access to my property. That means the nature cannot completely be dominated by man, by human. No doubt at all, man has made great progress. Even then, it is not possible for him to have full access to the nature. So he says, since he is not present here, he cannot stop me to have a full access to his own jungle, to his own property. Why? Because he is physically not present here. Since he is physically not present here, he cannot stop me to have the full access to his own jungle. See, so the first stanza here ends, my little horse must think it queer, strange, to stop without a farmhouse here. So he says that definitely now he's going to speak about the feelings, the thought, that very particular thought might be crossing the mind of his own horse, this animal. He says, definitely his little horse, a certain breed of a horse, he says that definitely my horse would be at his wit's end. Maybe my horse would be confused, because first time I have made him stop at a place where there is no valid reason to stop at. Because before that, whenever I made him stop, it was either a farmhouse or a particular a place or a kind of a village where my horse could have his food or could have water to drink, this or that. But definitely, here my horse would be confused. Maybe my horse might be thinking that accidentally by mistake I have here stopped. And my horse is giving a clear-cut indication by doing what? Between the wood and the, sorry, yes, to stop without a farmhouse here, between the wood and the frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. So he says that here, where is he standing? Just between the two worlds. On one side, the jungle, on the other side, the frozen lake. Frozen lake. Frozen lake stands for what? Cold stands for death. Cold stands for suffering. So on one hand, this nature, this nature has its own warmth, has just mesmerizing ability to 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 just to actually to relieve the man of all his sufferings. On the other hand, it it has its own what? Dark side. This nature is not of Wordsworth's nature. That is always and that always on and always promises for something that is good, promises for life. No. This world, this nature is the nature of the 20th century authors. This nature is the nature of Aldous Huxley, because Aldous Huxley said that maybe Wordsworth did not get time to see the horrible and the violent form of nature, and that's why Wordsworthian nature was always life-giving nature. No. So this nature is not the nature of Wordsworth. So he says, see, between the wood and the frozen lake. So woods mesmerizing, the bright side of the nature, and frozen relating to the cool side or the negative aspect of the nature. The darkest evening of the year. So he says that maybe it was the darkest evening of that year or of that season. So literally, what is the literal meaning of the darkest evening? The very dark evening. Maybe that was the darkest just day or the darkest time of the day of that very particular year. Okay, but if you take it the symbolical meaning here, darkest evening stands for the most difficult time of the life of the speaker of the poem. Maybe it was the toughest period of his own life. He might be feeling absolutely exhausted. He might be feeling absolutely, you can say this, he might have found himself in absolute trouble or difficulty. So literal and symbolical, both meaning you can take. By the both ways we can explain or interpret this line. So, the darkest evening of the year, he gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. So he says that his horse is shaking its what? Its neck with a harness. with a kind of a strap or a leather belt, with the tiny bells fixed on that, only to ask him whether by mistake you have stopped here or made me stop here. Why? Because no valid reason to stop here, because no sign of civilization here. Means no house, no farmhouse, no village, no place, even no water to drink. Why? Because the lake is the frozen lake. The water of the lake is frozen. He cannot drink even water. So he says that his horse is what? His horse gives a shake to his what? To his harness, and because of that the bells fixed on the harness what? Produce a kind of a sound to ask if there is some mistake. The the only the only other sounds, the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. So here he talks about certain sounds. Here the speaker of the poem talks about certain sounds that he can hear. Apart from which sound? The ringing sound of those bells fixed on the harness of the horse. He hears two more sounds. One, the rustling sound of the wind, and the sound of the snowfall. The snowfalls, downy flakes, downy, the 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 snow or the pieces of the snow so thin, just like the feathers we use particularly to fill our pillow. So he says he hears here he talks about three kinds of sounds. First, sound of the ringing of the bells fixed on the harness of the horse, then the sound of the wind, and third, the snowfall sound. So here he talks about the sounds. It means onomatopoeia is used in this poem. So here we finish the third stanza of the poem. Now let's look at the last and the very, very important stanza of the poem. See, the woods are lovely, dark and deep. He says, the woods are lovely, dark and deep. On one hand, the woods are lovely. See, the woods are lovely. But on the other hand, they are dark and deep. So here on one hand, nature has mesmerizing beauty. Nature has ability to relieve this tired traveler of his tiredness, of his of his of his sufferings, and can restore him with peace, tranquility, and harmony. But on the other hand, this jungle is dark and deep. Means this nature is mysterious also. This jungle can kill him also. Maybe this jungle may become his burial ground. Why? Because the setting of the poem is winter. Winter stands for death, destruction. But I have promises to keep, and this duty and desire, societal responsibilities remind him that yes, fine, the spectacle in front of him is mesmerizing, so beautiful that words will always fall short to describe and delineate. But he should remember that promises, lots of promises he may have made. Promises here stand for societal responsibilities. Being part of this earth, this real world, we are committed to lots of things. And if we give our words or commit to something, it becomes a responsibility to keep it. And this man is not a kind of a person who believes in rolling back from his own promises. He does not believe in backtracking. He does not believe in withdrawing. If he has said so, if he has committed for something, he means. So here he is torn. He is divided into two beings, you can say that, or two halves. On one hand, he wants to he wants to respond to the call of the desire, individuality. What at present does he like? He wants to watch. He wants to feed on this natural beauty. He doesn't want to go. But he uses the word but he says that societal responsibility have a kind of a pull. They are pulling him. They are forcing him to resume his journey. It is not possible for him to settle down here for the night, because the place, the destination, the home where he is to go still thousands of miles or many miles away. So on one hand, call from the societal responsibility. On the other hand, his desire, his individuality, and his torn. Either he is to respond to the societal responsibility, or to respond to the call of his desire, his body. His body wants rest. So here jungle stands for, jungle is kind of a bed, just like the bed offers us what? Rest. In the same manner here, jungle is promising him rest. But this rest can also be the jungle that is a kind of a bed, can also be his deathly bed. So see, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. So there's a repetition of this line. So he says that the woods are lovely, dark and deep, but dark and deep. But I have promises to keep. Means, how can he forget about his societal responsibilities, those promises, those commitments he has made? If he has made, he will have to fulfill. And miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. So the repetition of this lines. So the most important lines, or most important stanza of this poem, that is the fourth stanza. And this stanza was very dear to our first Prime Minister, that is Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. So I hope, my dear learners, this explanation of mine may have cleared all your doubts of this poem. I have tried my best to give a crystal clear explanation of this poem. Even if I fall short, my apology for that. So now let's look at the just figures of speech used in this very particular poem. Whose words these are, I think I know. Whose words these are, I think I know. So see this, first see this. repetition of vowel sounds, stressed vowel sounds. See, the poem is written in iambic tetrameter, means the first the first syllable of the poem is unstressed, whereas the second one is stressed, then third one again unstressed, fourth one stressed, then again this unstressed, this stressed, then again unstressed, stressed. So see this repetition of what? Vowel sound, stressed vowel sound, that is that is that is assonance. So first assonance is used in the poem, then second thing is these think, both of the words begin with T, means both of these words hold a what? Hold the sound of T at the beginning, means alliteration. So the first line of the poem, in the first line of the poem, there is alliteration and there is assonance. Next see that his house is in the village, though. So here he says, see, his house is in the village. So see here again, see repetition of, you can say that repetition of stressed, you see this vowel sound. Again what? Again we have here, you can say that again here we have assonance, and see is starts with I, in starts with I, means again what? Again repetition of I sound in the beginning, it means alliteration. Again use of alliteration. He will not see me stopping here. He will not see me stopping here. Fine. See, he starts with H. Here starts with H. Again alliteration. To watch his wood. Woods fill up with snow. Fine. So see, watch with W, with W. So again repetition of W sound. My little horse must think it queer. Here horse is treated as a living being, so you can say personification is used. My little horse must think it queer. See, to stop without a farmhouse here. Fine. Farmhouse. To stop without a farmhouse. Fine. Between the wood and the frozen lake. Fine. The darkest evening of the year. Fine. He gives his harness bells a shake. So see, he H, his H, harness H. Again repetition of H sound, means alliteration. To ask if there is some mistake. Fine. The only other sound, the sweep of easy wind and downy flakes. So see here, sound of the bell. See, sound of the easy wind and downy flake, means here the sound denoting words use, it means that is onomatopoeia. So see, the woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. So the repetition of the, see the third and the fourth line. Third line is again repeated in the as the last line of the poem. So repetition is also used in the poems. So I hope, and see before, see this, This here you can say that here sleep, miles to go before I sleep. So see, sleep here stands for first literal meaning rest. He wants to sleep, means he wants to have rest. Why? Because since he's been traveling for a long time, he's tired. But here sleep also gives a kind of a meaning of death. He is contemplating death also. Maybe the traveler is an old man. And one thing also remember that here for sure we don't know whether the traveler is a male or a female one. But we can say that the traveler is a male one, but not 100% sure that the traveler is male one, because nowhere the poet has made it clear. And maybe we can say that this traveler is none other than Robert Lee Frost. Why? Because Robert Lee Frost has said something that he would be remembered particularly for this very particular poem, and exactly the line he spoke I am unable to recollect. So thank you, my dear learners, for watching this video. I hope this video of mine will help you understand this poem. Once again, thank you.